Hello, friends and enemies alike. Pyre here with a new video, finally. Today, we're going to be practicing upstacking, because I am bad at it. So, my upstacking is really bad, which is the primary reason this is going on right now. For my rank especially, upstacking is the most, I would argue, I'll just say it flat out, upstacking is the most important skill. If you don't upstack well, downstacking isn't going to give you much benefit. Metagaming, the whole, look at your opponent's stats to see what they're good at and build around their plans, isn't going to work if you can't build a coherent stack. If you can't upstack, you can't send Tetrises, you can't really do T-spins, it just kinda doesn't matter if you do everything else right. You're going to be bad. And you see, I've neglected upstacking because I didn't think it was important. I'm now paying the price. Okay, so there are a few reasons I'm bad, though. The biggest one by far is creating dependencies. This is something when I was really big at, trying to get better, I've been told over and over again was, you make a lot of dependencies. You should stop doing that, right as I make dependencies in this board, probably. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I should work on that. And I never did. Mostly because I didn't know how. It's very easy, I feel, to get caught up in other factors. Because, to be honest, if you're practicing upstacking, and you're at, S rank, which is something you can get to with bad upstacking, to be honest, most of the time it doesn't feel like you're losing because of bad upstacking. It feels like mistakes you're making. And don't get me wrong, you probably are making a bunch of mistakes that are pretty bad in their own right. But enough of mine, at least, stem from bad upstacking for me to need to practice it. So what are we doing here? Why am I not doing this in Tetrio? This is the, what is this called? This is the eternal, it's the eternal exercise, I think. And it's something that you see floating around in UC a lot, Underdog's Cup, their, lounge and coaching area. And it's a just mode where you have to get only Tetrises, and you can only use half the board. And this is so you don't upstack really high and just completely trash your board and still, succeed. And this is good practice because, honestly, upstacking is very important. You can hear the sound effect. I'm kind of trying to practice finesse at the same time. But it's not my primary focus. Which sounds bad, but whenever I focus on my finesse, just entirely my finesse, my ability to upstack just goes out the window because I'm too distracted by it. Yeah, I'm not saving this one. Thought I was being clever. Nope. Let's try something like this. It's a spicy start. But yeah, you see it a lot in my replays, especially as of late, where a lot of the times I just lose 20 seconds in because I upstacked really high and I was relying too much on hold because of dependencies. And as a result, I just got KO'd in one go. Doesn't even matter if my opponent made a mistake. They managed to send off the lines faster. And if you're making opening mistakes to the point where you're losing in 20 seconds consistently, it's kind of a problem. This is not the only thing this series is going to be focused on, though. It's going to be working on improvement in general. This is just a foundation. This is one of the what I'm going to call a foundational episode. It doesn't really matter what I'm playing at in Tetrio if I don't have certain skills already at least being practiced. So I'm going to work on a set list of things first in, like, you know, gestures modes. And then from there, after I at least address these basic issues, I'm going to try actually playing Tetra League games and analyzing how I do bad in those. And you can still see this habit shining through, even though I'm deliberately trying to avoid it, where I'm upstacking way too high. It's actually a mistake I've been making for a very long time. So I haven't actually played any other game modes, really, until around, I believe, 2020. Except for Sprint, where my sprint times in practice goes back all the way to, like, 2016. And that means I've got a lot of bad habits, specifically from then, that are kind of hard to just shake. One of them was I used to think upstacking really high was really cool. And it's not. I mean, it might be to some people. But it's not good for improvement. You know what's more impressive than upstacking really high? Winning the game. So, as far as dependencies go, I'm not really seeing any yet. So, this right here is kind of a dependency. Not really. If that square wasn't there, which this is the perfect place, but let's say it's not there. I could do something like this. There you go. Sometimes it's a dependency issue. Sometimes it's a case of thinking it's a dependency when it really isn't. That's something else I struggle with. There's obviously other things I struggle with other than just general upstacking. But this is the biggest problem. Because don't get me wrong, if I wanted to stay in, you know, low S plus forever, that'd be one thing. You know, I could just work on T-spins more, which is what I've been doing before this series. But that's not... If I want to be X rank one day, which I kind of do, it's not going to cut it. And that was a bad placement. It would have been better to just put that there, and then just put this, like, right there. As you can probably hear, my finesse isn't great. Truth be told, I kept hyping up that one finesse tutorial, but I never really got that great at finesse because it just didn't hold my attention very well. And the hopes of me making that have kind of gone away after Ors made theirs. I'll link it in the description because I mentioned it here. It's really good. Like, really good. I don't need to make one, because it's just that good. I mean, they said everything I could have said and more. In fact, I was wrong on a lot of things regarding it, and that's a misdrop. Kind of. It's the weird kind of misdrop where it wasn't that I thought it was in a place it shouldn't have been. Well, it wasn't like I was rushing it. I saw it was there and I still pressed it. And that's a misdrop. I don't know if I'm ever going to do another, like, finesse-based thing on my channel. Just because it's really boring to actually train for, to watch practicing. Like, if you think this is boring, yeah. Anyway, so now that I'm kind of reducing dependencies, kinda. Like, I see a good placement for this. That's how I'm starting to test if I'm making dependency problems. If I see a very obvious solution to an issue, like here, what I'm trying to do is saying, okay, can I resolve this in a different way? Yes. Can I resolve this in a different way? Well, I can't go back in time now, but basically if I see something that looks like a dependency problem, I see if I can do a different solution. And if I can, then that's a good sign. If I can't, well, we made a mistake there. Damn it. I do that a lot. I need to chill out on that. The eternal exercise is actually great because it helps you improve a lot of things, though. Because the upside to this also is that an issue I have with sprints in particular is that I'll get to like 38 or 39 lines. I'm like, oh, I gotta clear 2 lines. If you practice only clearing, see, dependency problems. But if you practice only clearing Tetrises, then you don't need to worry about that anymore. You just stack and then you're done at some point. The obvious dependency here is J into... That's not the button I meant to press. Yeah. Anyways, what I was going to say was the obvious dependency is like that. Yeah, I'm not saving this now. Those seem to be my biggest issues is... Well, actually every type of dependency, but especially T, O, and I. Those are the easiest to just make. Okay, so here and here. I'm trying to go for not as obvious solutions as well. I've already mentioned why in terms of actually practicing, making sure I don't actually make dependencies, because if I see the obvious solution and I can make a different one, and it still works, then I'm not making a dependency. But also it helps because you can get really tunnel visioned in multiplayer, I find. Like, especially versus. And you see one solution and you just go for it because it's the one that in the moment seems like the best one. So looking for alternative solutions. Like right here is an obvious placement. What if I place it here? That's not something I would think about when playing a versus match. Now that was just an eye dependency, but I saw I had the eyepiece. Which doesn't make it much better. But it means it's not going to ruin my stack, which at this point is... I'll take it right now. Like, I'm really bad. Again, okay, let's see here. O dependency, right there. And it just dropped instantly. But, you know, what? Instead of doing that, I filled up here, and it worked. And that's what you want, I think, with your stacking, is you want to just be able to check and see if you have dependencies or not. I think the subtext of the series too is when I go into these, or when I'm going to go into these, I'm not going to have a lot of prior knowledge on how to do a lot of things probably, because that's how improvement works. You don't exactly know everything. You might know it in theory. You might have good advice, but you don't know how these situations are actually going to play out. And I think coming up with plans and ways to learn how to learn things, I think that's just an important skill to develop, and I think making these videos might, teach some people how to do that. Okay, so right here, obvious choices, that eyepiece there, S on the right, and Z where I just put that. But let's try something different, This is what I get for trying something different, going out of my comfort zone. Did we learn from that? Yes. Because that wasn't the solution I had in mind. You never know when you're going to have a good T-spin set up and you just don't go for it because you think you have a dependency and you don't. You know? So like right here, something like that. This is kind of a, not really, it's not really a dependency at all actually. In fact, it's so much not a dependency that I'm going to do the probably worst move. So this could go right here, oh right there, this could go right there, oh on the left. We'll do it like that since, well, we have to now, but I'll put this piece right here. That's not a good place to put it. Okay. Obvious answer, but whatever. Okay, this is interesting. Am I going to screw everything up by putting that there? A bit. Leaving yourself alternative options is just a good idea in general, probably. I don't know if this is how like higher end people play this. But I would imagine you'd have to play this way with no hold, which is the next progression from here. Is no hold. Because that's the thing with upstacking in multiplayer is if you're playing sprint, after you get, you know, these basic dependency errors like fixed, you don't reset as much, most likely. But when you're playing versus, you basically have the option of upstacking or going for like 2-piece T-spin setups. So if you practice no hold, and you don't have dependency problems, then that gives you a lot more versatility, we'll say, with how you place pieces. This isn't the right setting. Okay, I think I'm going to try practicing no hold as well now, since this is pretty consistently decent, I think. So the obvious answer here is I on the left, something like this. But is this a problem that how are we going to not hold here? And I immediately make the worst decision. All right. Okay, so that right there is usually a safe bet. Something like this. Nope. I don't trust that. There we go. Something like that. Ooh, I don't like that dependency here, but we're going to make it anyways. Because my original plan was S there. Oh. Yeah, this works better. So this is fine so far. Okay, so here, probably this. I like this. This seems like a good place to branch off from. It probably doesn't look good on paper, but in practice, this is what I would probably play in a versus game if I was no holding. Now the goal here is not to go entirely with no hold, but to see how long you can. Because you can't think of it as one thing that you just do instantly. You gotta think of it as like a progression. This one doesn't have any good solutions, and now we're screwed. I mean, you can just practice no holding whatsoever to the point where if you hold, you top out. That's fine, but I don't think that's as useful. It might be that, actually, that might be more efficient. I'll probably just try that, to be honest. Ignore everything I just said. You probably should do that anyways. See, this is bad. This is bad. Kept creating an eyepiece dependency, and I'm higher up in my stack already. Okay, slow down. Something like this. 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 No hold is tricky, I'll be honest. People who are significantly better than me are just like, what are you doing? I'm being bad at the game. That's okay. Okay. I want to end this episode with at least one good run for no hold. That's not the good run. Okay. If you're making mistakes like having to reset after your first bag, there's something really wrong. Like, see, that was a bad start, but I got out of that. And if I can get out of that, but, you know, I can't get out of other situations, then something has gone awry. There's a mistake somewhere here. See, no hold really pushes you in some places, because there's an easy solution there had the cube been switched. Anyways, well, I don't have a good place to put that, and we top out. Okay. I should have been, I should have been focusing before I made a leap, but now I'm really gonna try this. Okay. I think you get the point, though. And the point is that you want to practice not having dependencies in your stack. Honestly, if you're as bad as I am, no hold's not even something you should probably be worrying about yet. But I don't want to make multiple of these videos. I might make a second follow-up to this idea. If I want to learn like 6-3 maybe, and it proves to be more difficult than I intended. So I could throw out more ideas there for that if people need them. But yeah, I wanted this to be as pretty comprehensive as possible so I can just go and practice more on my own and come back and report my results and then practice other things. Sometimes T-spins are a good way of fixing weird stack stuff, by the way. I'm sure everyone knew that, but it's fun to see it in practice. It's not something you should rely on, though, so probably don't do that as a habit. Whatever works, you know?